When I chose to start a remote company in 2012 or so, it was because most of the clients and colleagues that I was collaborating with were already in other locations. I noticed that I was dedicating a couple of hours every day to getting dressed and traveling in traffic to and from an office where I was only hopping on the phone or video conference to collaborate with people that were in other locations. And as a result, I was shoving a lot of my personal tasks and responsibilities into late evening and weekend hours unnecessarily. As we grew at Slide UX, folks often wondered whether an office was in our cards. We held firm, always checking in with our team to gather feedback about their preferences and feelings of connectedness. We were especially lucky when we were introduced to Sam Meazell. As a certified social worker and workshop facilitator, she brought us not only fabulous user research and strategy chops, but also loads of lessons about connecting groups of people. In her capacity as peopleops coordinator here at Slide, she makes sure that we stay connected. And that's why I want to talk with her today about how we're doing it so that we can potentially help our friends in other companies who are realizing that remote might be here to stay for longer than we thought. Sam, what are the components of the People Ops program here at Slide UX?
Hi, Erin. Great to see you. Thanks so much for reaching out. You know I love talking about people, well, our People's Ops program in particular. Thinking about the components of how we come together as a team, I try to keep in mind that each of us really does have a different way we like to engage in groups. So some of us love jumping into group discussions, others prefer to teach our group something new. Some of us like to absorb a conversation and then share a new perspective. So for my contributions to People's Ops, I try to vary the ways in which we bond. So as you know, we hold a weekly staff meeting. It's Fridays, it's fun, and it's called All Faces. Brilliantly titled, not by me, because more commonly titled All Hands, as you know, we're all faces on one Zoom screen. So at the start, the majority of that meeting was me facilitating management's announcements and some project recaps, and all of that was fine, but we heard only a handful of voices in that format. So always wanted to love a good icebreaker. I started asking the team a question at the top of each meeting. So sliders played along. We started getting to know each other a little bit better, I think. And again, though, we started to notice that the same core group was engaging in the icebreaker, while others were sort of less apt to speak up. So that's where we had this idea to intentionally mix up the voices that we heard in that meeting. Now, when I build the agenda for our All Faces meeting, I assign sliders to run parts of the meeting. So we switch up who's asking the icebreaker. We have a You've Got the Floor time when someone fills us in on what's going on at home or at work or wherever. We have project recaps to share our completed work. We pass a burger named for a slider burger around to each other. It's sort of a way to offer kudos individually. And finally, my absolute favorite spot of our All Faces agenda is the closer. So early on, our meetings would just kind of fizzle out. We'd get to the end of the agenda and just sort of say, okay, well, bye. Now we have this closer position, and that person has a minute or so to end with something of their choice, a video clip, a joke, a fact, anything. And I love that part. So that was a lot about All Faces. We also have Lunch and Learn is a big component of our People's Ops program, and those are a combination of internal and external teaching moments. We do those once a month, and we've learned about meditation and building an app, time management. This is sort of this format that works best for our group is a little upfront teaching and lots of sharing throughout. So we've gotten used to the sharing part, which is really nice. So finally, when I think of the components, a final big one is what we call team time. Formerly, it was team week, and then we realized, well, it wasn't an entire week, so let's call it team time. And that's when you and Brant and I coordinate these. And this year it'll be remote, but I have a feeling we'll come up with something really special, whatever we know our team will be up for it. So Yeah, that's what I think of for the different components.
Aha. Okay. So, what advice would you have for a newly COVID remote company who is feeling that sense of connection start to fray after months of being disconnected?
Advice that I would give a newly COVID remote company that's feeling a lack of connection is mix it up. First of all, if you feel like you're doing too much work, if it's too hard to get your team together or have it feel meaningful, switch gears and look for ways to bring more voices into the conversation, open up the floor, assign sharing like I was talking about, bring in an outside facilitator. You'd be surprised what might bring your group together. So send out a short survey asking for ideas. Engagement really does happen even before the actual engagement in the form of feedback, preparation, and just all around hype that goes into group gatherings. But really, the advice is mix it up and try a lot of different things and see what fits for your team.
Now, can you tell us what has surprised you most about the experience of coordinating the People Ops program here at Slide UX?
What always surprises me is how willing people are to play along. So, you know that thing about the hostess breaking the first plate and no one worries about breaking a plate after that happens? Well, I would say I break a lot of plates, and that either makes people pity me or they play along and they realize how fun it is to break plates. Either way, it seems like we have a lot of fun together, and I'm always really surprised and thrilled how willing people are to play along.
For firms that feel like it's daunting to develop these new People Ops programs that they haven't had before, what information would you provide? What would you say to those teams about the importance of staying the course with a good remote People Ops program?
Yeah, I would say to those firms who feel like it's kind of daunting to set this kind of stuff up, here's the deal: it won't just happen on its own. You really do have to be intentional about it. You do have to care, try some stuff out, ask for feedback lots. Know you won't please everyone, but gauge if you're pleasing most. Don't take it personally. You're putting yourself out there, and people are people. Ultimately, it's really nice to have some touch points with your colleagues, especially in the world of remote work. So make it happen, and good luck.